All right, before I get to, just your overall career and everything, young Al Leiter, just growing up, who were some of your favorite baseball players?
Start with Tom Seaver.
Okay.
I'll go with, John Milner, okay. Felix Mian, Buddy Harrelson, Wayne Garrett, Jerry Grody.
That's a good one.
Ron Swoboda.
Okay.
All right, so I'm a Mets fan. Obviously, I'm naming Mets guys.
Okay.
Jerry Koosman.
Okay.
I grew up in an area where it was the trinity of baseball fan. We had Philly fans,
okay.
we had Yankee fans, and Mets fans. Okay. So on a Friday night, I could turn on Channel 17 and listen to Richie Ashburn and Harry Kalas with Steve Carlton on the mound.
There you go.
Awesome. I'd flip over to Channel 11 and watch Ron Guidry back in the 70s, Gator.
Okay.
And then I'd flip over to the Mets game. And since we're going lefties, I'll say Jerry Koosman or John Matlack. But Tom Seaver was my guy. So like that right there, and even though I was a Mets fan, I started with the Yankees. We went to more Philly games, so in my most impressionable time, the Mets weren't very good in the mid-'70s after Tom Seaver got traded, and the Phillies were great. You had Pete Rose, you had Davey Cash, you had Larry Bowe, you had Mike Schmidt, Bob Boone behind the dish. Who we had? Gary Maddox. We had Greg Luzinski, Jay Johnstone,
this is insane.
Tug McGraw. Like that was a fun team.
I like that.
So how is that? I'm a Mets fan, and I'm rattling off Phillies guys. And this is what I did for my son Jack. Obviously, I played for 4 teams, so it's hard. Jerry Seinfeld was right. You're rooting for laundry and logos and marks. Once you get behind the curtain, you realize, okay.
Yeah.
So, I said, Jack, root for players. Who do you like as a player? And one of his first few guys, it was Ichiro, and he liked Miguel Cabrera. I'm telling you, he's a little tight running around the apartment when I was still with the Mets in New York City. And he always pretended he's Ichiro and he's Miguel Cabrera, and I'm like, all right, Ken Griffey Jr. So I kind of messed him up because I'm not sure what is his favorite team.
Yeah, because he never really classified his favorite team. But
I would say maybe the Marlins because when I was with the Marlins, and then we lived in South Florida for a long time, and that was pretty good. He remembers when probably a little bit of the Miguel Cabrera years when they won, right, in 03. He was still just a little guy. I can't believe how long that was.
Wow, that was a long time.
All right, I know I'm rambling. What do you got?
Okay, so you mentioned Tom Seaver.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's a legend, right? Yeah. But if you did your personal Mount Rushmore, 4 pitchers that you put on your Mount Rushmore, who will be your 4 pitchers?
All right, so Seaver's got to be on it, and deservingly. Sandy Koufax, who I got a chance to know, never saw him pitch, but I got to put Sandy in there. The window of greatness and all the stories that I heard. I had a bullpen coach, Jeff Torberg, who was also a manager in the big leagues. He was one of the coaches when I first got to the big leagues with the Yankees. He told me so many stories about Sandy and his greatness, and then I got a chance to meet him, so that's another one.
That's 2.
I'm going to have to go... I'm not going to go way back because, the Christy Matheson or Cy Young, because that might be... I'll go Greg Maddux. I witnessed it.
Okay.
As far as pitcher, not stuff, pitcher.
Yeah.
Because Maddux figured it out, 2-seam, change-up, really masterful. 351 wins, I think.
Yeah.
And then I want to go old school.
Go ahead.
No, I'll go Pedro.
Okay.
I was going to go Bob Gibson. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, you can't go wrong either.
When I talked to Tom Seaver and the guys that played against him, I know Nolan Ryan was a tough dude.
Yeah.
Bob Gibson was it. When Tim McCarver and all these guys tell stories about. So I'd probably do that. But Pedro, talking about Sandy Koufax and his window of greatness, Pedro was right there as far as the snapshot.
I love that. So I did my research. I don't know how accurate this is, but I stood up hours last night trying to figure out a rare stat about yourself. Your first actual Major League hit was in the World Series? Okay. Explain that, because obviously there was some success with that team, but just that moment realizing, I got to go out here and get a hit because, now.
All right, are you guys going to edit this? Because it could be too long of a story. Will you chop it up?
Okay.
All right, whatever. All right. I was one of the worst hitters ever to step foot in the Major League batter's box, and I loved it because I'm facing the best dudes. And I actually say that about pitchers. Pitchers got in the batter's box and realized how freaking hard it is to hit.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be as nibbly, you know, or thinking that every 2-0 middle is going to get hit to Mount Rushmore or Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And I learned that from going from the American League to National League. When I stood in the box, I'm like, damn, this is hard.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the backdrop. I graduated high school in 1984. Back then, the American League team, I was Yankees, Blue Jays, right? Went to the World Series in 92, 93. This is the game that we're talking about. It was Game 4, 1993, at Veterans Stadium, Philadelphia.
Yes, it was. There you go.
Todd Stottlemyre starts the game. I was that swingman starter. I started, or I relieved. I did a lot of relieving. Stottlemyre gets gets knocked out of the game. I come in the second inning of the game. I hadn't hit in 10 years. So I'm on the bench, and all of a sudden they're like, Leiter, you're on deck. I looked around, I said, on deck?
Was it Cito Gaston?
Yeah, Cito. You're on deck. Gene Tennis was the hitting coach. I was like, on deck. So I used John Olerud's helmet, I used Ed Sprague's bat, and I used, I think it was Pat Porter's batting gloves.
Oh, wow.
And I go running up there. I forget who was up before me, but it was like 2 or 3 pitches, he grounds out. I'm like, holy crap. I'm telling you, I get in there. I told you I was the worst hitter ever. I get in there, Roger Mason's on the mound. He throws me one heater that looks like I can maybe hit it. I whacked it. Ball goes down the left field line. Mitch Thompson picks it up, goes to second base. I stand up double. John Kruk is trailing in the play, and Krucky at the time wasn't having a good World Series. And he's like, oh my God, SOB, beep, 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 it's not that easy. And I turned to John Kruk, who was a hell of a hitter, as you know. I said, Krucky, I know, I can't believe it. I haven't had a bat in 10 years since high school. And Krucky's like, oh my God. All right, so that's my snapshot.
I like that.
Then, wait a minute, that's 93, 94, 95, 96. 3 years later, I get my next at bat. It's the second game of the year for the Marlins. Kevin Brown pitched the opener, I pitched the second game. And it's against John Eriks, a right-handed pitcher from Pittsburgh. You know what the next pitch was? It was a fastball. You know where I hit it? A line drive up the middle.
Wow.
Now, I only say that, not to brag, because I, from that point on, never got a hit. Like, it was that pathetic. I struck out nearly every at bat.
So you just turned to Tony Gwynn all of a sudden in the World Series. It was just, okay, I like that.
That's it. That's my glory.
I like that. 2 more questions, man. So, you know, during your time of playing, guys had to wait to get the opportunity to get on the field. Like, you had to go through the minor league systems. You're seeing guys like Skeens, right? These young pitchers coming in and this instant gratification. What are your thoughts about that? Because when you played, it was sort of like you had to go out in the middle of nowhere and play AA, single A ball for a while to get to where you want to. But now seeing Skeens and seeing guys get in so quickly, how does that work for you?
Well, by the way, Skeens is a unicorn. I mean, this dude is massive, and he throws 100 miles an hour. He has 2 breaking balls, and he came up with this little split change-up thingy. He is like, this guy stays healthy, he's going to win multiple Cy Youngs. He's that good. Stay healthy.
I like that.
Yeah, no, it was a thing back then. They tried to get you 400 innings in pitching somewhere in the minors, you know. You went low A, you went high A, you went double A, you went triple A. It was just, that was the way it is. There were very few Dwight Goodens. Doc went from Lynchburg right to Big, and he was electric. You talk about a guy that would have been on a Mount Rushmore, that guy.
Yeah.
So, no, I have no problem with it. But the system actually is expediting it as a result of having younger players who are cheaper that you can now, and the way they use these rosters now, and I was talking to Jack, it's like, oh my God, we had a 25-man roster. It was pretty much your roster, unless the guy was awful for an extended period of time, they'd send you down. But now they pitch a guy, he pitches 2 innings. They say, so it's, the revolving door of the roster. So they need, at least with arms, they need big league arms, even if they're not ready, because they're churning them. You know, you pitch 2 innings tonight, we're going to send you down. We're going to bring him up, and if he pitches and we can't use him for a few days, we're going to send him out. So that's just the nature of the business, and I think it's a matter of using guys that aren't making that much money.
I like that. You know, one thing I like, especially just from you being a former player, you have a son in baseball, and it seems like you take the ultimate backseat and sort of just let him do his thing, right? Let him figure it out. You know, as you know, a lot of sports parents, they don't do that. Just seeing Jack's progression and obviously the ups and downs that come with it, you're a guy that he watched you play. He understands the grind is going to be there. Just, you know, not being Al Leiter the father, but just being the, let's say if you were the pitching coach or a guy that was just scouting Jack, what would be your best advice for him going forward?
All right, so there's a lot there, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'll try to keep it basic. I think the game likes to complicate the game, and ultimately, it really is a simple game. You throw it, you catch it, you hit it, you run. So not to be a moron about it, but like we've now put layers of this sophistication to try to get the minutia, just to let's get our war a little higher than their war, and so you could get lost in the weeds based on information and data. So my thing would be, you're talented enough to be here, all these guys. Go with your strengths, go with what you're good at, and it's a constant game of adjustment. I'd rather have a guy throw the wrong pitch with conviction than the right pitch half-ass. So, now we go into these things. And I see it with hitters. They look robotic. They're looking for a lane and looking for a window. And how does it play off each other? Like, man, you talk to old guys, the great hitters that I respected greatly, Paul Molitor's and Don Mattingly's, and oh my God, they or Tony Gwynn. He was hanging around like it was. See-ball, hit ball. And as a pitcher, be aggressive. Go with your strengths. Dave Stewart used to tell me that all the time. We'd be in the scout report meeting, and Galen Cisco is our pitching coach up in Toronto. They say, all right, he's a good fastball hitter. Get to the breaking ball, do this, curveball in the dirt. And Stu would say, yeah, but can he hit my fastball? And that was Stu. And I took from that. I'm like, yeah, he's right. That guy's a good fastball hitter because So I know it's silly and it's remedial when I say it, but it's real.
I like that. Last question for me, man. So I'm gonna call this your big three. You faced a lot of great hitters. If Al Leiter had to put the most dangerous lineup of guys he faced, and I need your top three order. No, obviously now the game is different where your power hitters are leading off now. Yeah. But if you just do three hitters, your top three hitters that you face in your lifetime of baseball. On the spot. Okay. Who are those three?
All right, so Barry's definitely in there.
Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds. He was. All right, so who I fit? Tony Gwynn. Oh yeah, no, Tony. Yeah. Tony's scouting report. Talking about scouting report was, he's going to hit it somewhere. We hope he hits it at somebody. That was no disrespect because he didn't strike out. I would say a third guy would be. Only because I ended up playing with him and he was really hard to get out is Paul Molitor. Oh man, the Paul Molitor's man, Molly. Yes. And you see, like I'm not picking guys that can hit it out of Yellowstone. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's Barry could, but those guys. There were a bunch, man. George Brett, Dave Winfield was a teammate. I eventually faced him, and Ricky Henderson is so underrated. I think you talk about a Mount Rushmore somewhere. Look at his numbers. Yeah. But he didn't hit home runs, so people are like, OPS. You look on the scoreboard now. OPS.
It means more than anything, yeah.
OPS. What about just put the ball in play?
I like that. I like his thinking.
Hello, Al. Oh, Pat.
Well, Al, I appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We're going to be talking again soon, but I will say this in the camera. That Blue Jays team, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, he mentioned taking John Olu's helmet. I think should be a Hall of Famer. Paul Monson, who's a Hall of Famer. Joe Carter. We go down a list of guys on that team. One of the greatest teams ever. And I think one of your teammates is walking around somewhere. David Cohn, right? David somewhere, yeah. So,
well, he was there in '92, but I was on the '93 team. But yeah, unbelievable. Take a look at those rosters. Yeah,
love it so much, man. Appreciate that. Thank you so much.